All right, so we're going to be working on apple chips today. We find it cheaper to do our own. We have our own food dehydrator. We've done everything from beef jerky to our own spice rubs in it. We've done dehydrated onions for onion flake, but I think our favorite use for it is making apple chips. So we run through quite a bit. When we do it, I typically will do about a 3-pound bag of apples, depending on what variety is on sale or in season. And so we'll go ahead and get started. I start by coring the apples. I just have a cheap apple corer. You can use whatever you want. You don't have to do this. I just find it makes it easier to dry the apples. They take less time to dry if you core them. There's less surface area to dry, if you will. So I've washed these before we started. You just want to get a decent angle. Sometimes the apple doesn't cooperate with you. The core isn't necessarily straight down the center. Depending on the variety of apple that you have too. Some are softer, some are harder. I think these are Fuji, I believe, is what I found on sale. And I'll wash my hands off before I start using the mandolin. Even though I've got a guard to use with it, you don't want your hands to be slippery or sticky when you start with that. It's very sharp. We've got all our apples cored. I'm going to stack them back in my strainer. Get rid of my cores. Clean up my mess a little bit. All right, I've cleaned up my cutting board, washed off my hands, and now we can start slicing. So I have a Cuisinart mandolin. You always want to use the guard. Sometimes it's awkward, sometimes it's clunky. Better than awkward, better awkward and clunky than sliced fingers. You want to just make sure you have the guard set and you start slicing. And this will make pretty quick work of the apples. And you can see we're getting a uniform slice. Sometimes you'll get a little few pieces hanging out there, but those will dry as well. We can run through an apple in relatively quick time. Sometimes you have to readjust just to make sure you get the rest of the apple in. But once you do that, you get it down to, that final nub. Sometimes that doesn't want to go through. There's one, and what I usually do, I start stacking my trays as I get them done, and you want to lay these out flat. You don't really want them touching too much. You want them close enough together to where you can get everything on the tray, but you don't want them overlapping. Otherwise, it takes a long time to dry these things. So you really kind of want to space them. You want them close together, but you don't want them like touching to the point that they're gonna stick together. And so I just try to find the best place to put some of these smaller pieces. I think we have 8 trays in total. And I should be able to fill all 8 trays. All right, now that we have all 8 of our trays filled, I'm going to take this over and we'll plug in the top that goes on this, so it kind of heats from the top down. And it's basically an oven or a countertop oven, if you will. It's going to give it some heat, it's going to circulate air, and it's going to dry each level. It'll take about 8 to 10 hours to dry the chips. But if you've purchased apple chips in the store, they're about $3 a bag for a small bag. So for $3, I bought a 3-pound bag of apples, and we'll get about a gallon-sized bag of chips out of this. So I'm gonna walk it over. We've got our tarp. We use a Nesco brand dehydrator. Just a simple knob on the top. You adjust your settings. There's no on and off switch for this thing, so you just really plug it in and unplug it when you're ready to use it. You fit the top on, and you can see it gives you a temperature guide for herbs and spices, nuts and seeds, crafts, fruits and vegetables, meat, fish, and jerky. This thing makes excellent jerky, by the way. So we will plug this in, and you can hear it start up. And I'm actually going to adjust my temperature down to that 135, and you just let it go. And in about 8 to 10 hours, we'll have apple chips. Bye, everyone.